Hey guys, this is Trey Susky here. I'm going to do a little video for y'all today. Hold on. I'm going to do a little video today. Um, Something I've been wanting to do for a while. Uh, I've been looking to see if there was anything out there on the Peavey Wolfgang Special USA models and how to tell the difference between those and the EXPs or export models that were made overseas. Um, I recently bought this gold one from eBay, and I got it for a really good deal. Um, uh, I had a Music Man Axis in the past, which is basically the it was the predecessor, or it was the successor to the Eddie Van Halen Ernie Ball Music Man signature model back in the early 90s. When he left Music Man to join Peavey and start making the specials and the standards, um, Music Man thought his guitar sold so well that they just changed the name to the Axis and redid some configurations on the toggle switch here and put it, instead of the front horn up here, they moved it back there and started naming it the Axis. And I've owned an Axis model guitar in the past, and I had to sell it for various reasons. But I've always wanted to get something back to that. I wanted to get back to the quality like a Music Man Axis, which is built in the USA and has all high quality parts and stuff. But right now, the guitars I was using before I picked up my Peavey Special were not, they weren't getting the job done. And I'm not a gigging musician. Uh, Neither will I ever be, probably. But I'm just the average guy that works. You know, I teach and coach, and I just like to play music, and I have ever since I was 11 years old. I've been playing guitar, and uh, you know, over the years, as I got better, which I'm sure it's like that for most musicians, whether you're on the professional or any kind of gigging, or even the guy that just practices at home, the better you get, you know, you want to get yourself better gear. Um, and so, you know, I had played things like an old uh, Yamaha guitar with an unlicensed Floyd Rose. It was a Floyd Rose style guitar because I wanted to start using whammy bar and stuff. And I had an old Epiphone Les Paul that I actually made into a better guitar with some upgrades that I did to it. But over the years, as my playing got better, I always wanted to keep upgrading and getting better quality instruments. But stuff that I could afford. Well, at the time that I got my Music Man, I I had saved up a bunch of money and was able to get it and still have, you know, it didn't put a ding in my wallet. It didn't hurt at the time, and so I spent like $1,200, $1,300, and bought a Music Man Axis, and it was the best guitar I'd ever owned out of anything I'd ever had. I've had a bunch of like Squires and stuff like Fender Squires, and then of course I got that Epiphone Les Paul and made it better by putting upgrades on it. But I never had just a USA made guitar that was just great. And so when I got to the position where I could get another instrument of high quality, such as the Music Man, I looked at the Peaveys because they were still USA made, but they weren't as expensive, especially the special models. So a little bit of background on all that. So Eddie was with Kramer, you know, during the late 70s through the 80s. You know, he used some old Charvels and stuff like that to build his Frankenstrat guitar. And then when, you know, they got better and all that stuff, he ended up signing a deal with Kramer, and He never made a signature model through them, but Kramer used his endorsement deal to sell a bunch of their guitars that looked like his guitar, but it was never quite the same thing. And so they were just building guitars just for him to play. And Paul Unger did a bunch of his work, especially in developing the 5150 Kramer guitar that he played basically for the better half of a decade during the 80s. And um, but he eventually wanted to actually make his own signature model. And I've read all the forums and stuff, and basically they were saying Kramer wasn't going to do that. So Music Man said, well, what if we built you a signature model? Sterling Ball had already got Eddie to do strings and stuff endorsed through them. And he was like, but why don't we just build you a signature guitar? Because at that point, Van Halen was in a position where, you know, they were global icons at the time, biggest rock band in the world in the late 80s, early 90s. And in 90, when he went to Music Man, you know, he wanted people to actually be able to get his instrument. And so they came out with the EVH Music Man Signature model. And of course, those were really high-end guitars built in the U.S. You know, you'd have to pay, you know, $1,500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for them to get them. You know, I mean, they were high quality. They were awesome. Like if it was anything like my Axis, which was the successor to that guitar, that was one of the greatest instruments I've ever played in my life. But you know, they were made to order guitars, and they still are to this day. The way that Music Man does it is they make their guitars to order. They don't just make a bunch of them and put them in a store. Well, Peavey, he had met with Hartley Peavey, and he had said, you know, if they had been making his amps, the 5150 amps, for years at that point, and he was like, well, Eddie was wanting to get, his whole thing was he wanted to get his instruments into the hands of musicians with his, that bared his signature. And so to speed up that process, he got a better deal through Peavey. They promised to increase like the shipment of them and stuff, so people wouldn't have to wait as long. And also, Eddie wanted more hands-on in developing the guitar itself. He basically built the Music Man one, but the way that their contract worked out was that Eddie did not own any of the patents on the Music Man guitar. So basically, Sterling Ball owned the patents on Eddie's signature model, and he didn't like that. He wanted to be able to change things and do things as he pleased. And so part of the deal in him moving to Peavey was that he was going to have creative control over everything and own all of the patents. Okay, there was a lot of other rumors and some other things that I had read about that I just don't think are true, and I wanted to dispel some of those because I've heard in interviews that it was an amicable decision to leave Music Man and stuff, and that it was really just Eddie wanted to own the patents. Okay, that way he could do whatever he wanted with it. He always liked to be in total control of anything he's ever done, and basically now he's got his own EVH brand under Fender, where he literally, I mean, he tells his team, I want this and that, and they just go and do it. He has full control of everything now, of whatever he wants to make. But a couple of things that made those Music Mans and the Peaveys so special is that they were, and for a long time, Eddie used to say, back when he was with Kramer, he would say the secret to his tone was a maple, unfinished maple neck, okay, and a Poblar body that wasn't finished. It just had paint but no lacquer over it. And so when he was, you know, making his Frankenstrat and doing his Kramer 5150 guitars, he had an unfinished maple neck that he played on for a decade, and then had unfinished bodies that went with them. When he went to Music Man, he changed and had finished bodies. They became basswood instead of poplar, and then they had a maple cap, which the guy who started Sir Guitars, I can't think of his name right now, real famous luthier, said that that's the secret to the best tone, in his opinion, in the world, is a basswood body and a maple cap. Well, Eddie stuck with his unfinished necks. Okay, he still had the unfinished maple necks, and now when he was with Music Man, he upgraded them to bird's eye maple. I mean, they looked real pretty. They just had a lot of figuring in them. My Axis model that I have was absolutely stunning and beautiful. But he started putting the lacquer over the bodies, but he had basswood body and a maple cap, and it was a flat top. Same tone controls and everything as he had on his other one, but he did add a pickup selector, and he added an extra pickup. So he now had a bridge and a neck pickup. So he took all that same concept stuff to Peavey. Now, obviously, he had to change some things because, like I said, Sterling Ball owned all the patents on his original guitar, but he was able to keep the unfinished necks. And the neck that he had on his Music Man was actually scanned from his. They scanned a copy of his 5150 guitar neck. And basically built the Music Man ones to be the exact same profile. So it felt like it had been played on already. And they were just finished with gunstock oil and stuff, and it still was done the same at Peavey. The only difference was the neck shape changed just slightly. It got a little bit more thicker, but it's still a smaller type neck. It's not like the real big baseball bat ones like you get on a Les Paul. But another change he made was that on the standard Peavey Wolfgang models, he made them arch top instead of flat top, and they still had a maple cap on them. But they were still an expensive instrument. So, you know, he builds a $2,000, $3,000 guitar for Music Man, and that's how you get his signature model. Well, then he does the same thing at Peavey, but of course they can produce more and they can make it a little bit cheaper. It wasn't quite $2,000. You know, they were more in the, and now they still go for like the $1,500 range, a used one, for a standard model. Well, to make it even more accessible to the everyday musician, they came up with the Wolfgang Specials. Now, there were two versions of this guitar made. There was a USA model, which I have, and an EXP model. Now, it wasn't actually ever called the EXP. They just called it the Wolfgang Special, the Peavey Wolfgang Special. Later on, to distinguish between the USA models and the overseas models, or the exports, they started saying EXP for export. And this is where I've seen a lot of discrepancy on the internet. Like when I go to look for the guitar I wanted to buy, I wanted to get the Peavey Special USA model. Okay, I wanted to still get a USA made guitar, just like my Music Man was made in San Obispo, California, and but I didn't want to pay, you know, $1,200, $1,500 for a guitar. I couldn't spend over $1,000. Like, it had to be around the $700 to $800 mark or less. So I started looking and doing my research. Well, I read all the Peavey forums, and they talked about the differences in the USA and the EXP models. And the USA model was going for around $700. And I'm like, man, when I save up, that's the one I want to get, but how do I know that I'm getting the right thing? And so this is the deal. I've seen a lot of videos where they'll play you the guitar and show you what it sounds like and do all that stuff, but nobody, unless you go read the forums, nobody talks about what makes it different between the EXP and the USA Peavey Wolfgang Specials. And so you'll see on the internet, you'll see a USA model go for like $650, $700, and then you'll see a you know, an EXP model go for about the same price, and you're like, but it's not even the same quality, and it's not. And I've noticed how people have been getting ripped off on places like eBay and stuff, and it may not even be the seller's fault. I think a lot of times people just don't know what they have. And so I've decided to make this video to try to clear up some issues that people might have in trying to figure out whether it's a USA or a EXP model. Now, there were some quilted USA models made. There was like a blue, a red, and I think a gold one. But most of the time, the easiest way to tell a USA model, first of all, it's gonna be a solid color. They made black, white, sunburst, they made black, white. They made a sunburst model, and then they made a gold one, which is what I have. The gold one was the least popular because it was one that Eddie never played live or in any of his videos or anything. The ones you always see him play are either the white or the black ones, and then later on in the tour that he did during Van Halen 3, he played the sunburst model. And basically, the easiest way to tell if you can see them, and most of the time, like if you're looking to get one, if you have to look off pictures, they're pretty good about showing this. But if you look on the neck and on the back of the headstock, you can't really see it here, but the signature's here. It's gray. It's engraved into the wood. It's actually, you can like feel where the signature has been written, and it even has patent pending under there. Well, on the serial number, it's not stamped on. Like the EXP models, you'll see have a stamp in black and the numbers in black. A USA model, it's actually carved into the headstock and it's not colored. Okay? And it's been really like written in there, and it has patent pending just like on the standard models. That's how you really know if you've got a USA model or not. And so I've been wanting to do this so I can dispel some of those things, and people can really know what they're getting. Because honestly, in my humble opinion, the Peavey USA Wolfgang Special is the best Eddie Van Halen signature guitar on the market. It was made in the USA and is still going for under $1,000 used. Still going for under $1,000 most of the time. Now the prices on eBay have been going up, and it was hard for me to find this one. This guy really just wanted to sell it and stuff, and I got this for $625 off eBay. But now they're starting to go like the white ones. The white ones are starting to go for $1,000 or more because they're getting so rare. People are not wanting to let these instruments go because think about it, they've been out of production for 12 years. 2004 was the last year Eddie was with Peavey, and that was the last year they made any of those Peavey Wolfgang either standards or specials. And so they're becoming collector's items. So for the working musician or for the guy that just wants to sit at home and play a quality instrument, if you want to get something that's still built in the USA for cheap and you don't want to have to go buy an export, like what they're doing now with the Wolfgang specials for under the EVH brand, they're all made overseas now. They don't make them in the US unless you get a standard, or unless you get the true like Wolfgang USA model. They don't make the special in the USA anymore. So if you're one of those people that wants a really good quality instrument and you don't want to worry about, well, it was built in a factory, across the pond, this is the best thing you can get right now. And now I'm gonna give you a few tones on it and stuff, and play around on some stuff. I'm not gonna go through any of the things. I'm just gonna play some Van Halen licks and some other stuff like that, just to give you an idea of what this one sounds like. But I really just wanted to make this so that people that were looking for this type of instrument knew they had another option out there besides getting something made overseas. These are still out there, guys. They're hard to find sometimes, but look on eBay, look for the good deals, look for these things, and if you're patient and you wait, you will get a good one. The biggest thing I've learned in 15 years of playing guitar is that don't settle for something. Get the thing that you want, that feels comfortable to you. I knew, because I had a Music Man, I knew exactly what this was going to feel like, and there's not that much difference between it and my Music Man that I've sold, um, and it still plays great, and it's a high quality instrument. This thing is 18 years old, and I've never seen hardware on a guitar that's that old that looks this good to this day. It's got it was already, I mean, the Peaveys, they already came with the EVH tuner and stuff. Um, like the ones you have to install on the Music Mans, they don't always, I mean, it takes forever. You got to fidget with them and fidget with them to get them to do it just right. This thing came right out of the case working perfectly because it was built in the factory with it on there. With that being said, I hope this video helped you guys. If you're looking for this kind of guitar, they're out there, guys. You just got to look and be patient. But you can get a USA built instrument still for under $1,000. They're out there. You just really got to look. I'm going to play some tones on my Peavey Viper VIP2. It's on the 6505 amp model, which is basically like the 5150 Eddie had when he was with Peavey. They just renamed it the 6505 for the year that they started to the year that he left, which was '05. So here we go, guys. I'm just going to give y'all some tones and jam around on some Van Halen stuff. I hope this video helps someone, anybody out there looking for a good USA built guitar and wants that Eddie Van Halen sound and still wants to spend under $1,000. It is out there, guys. It is the Peavey Wolfgang Special USA. You got to look for the specifics, but they're out there, guys. Be patient. Make sure it's what you want. Don't get something that you don't want to play. You better want to play this thing every day. That's how you know you got an instrument that was worth it. That's the one thing, you know, that I take away from my 15 years of playing is make sure it's something that you'll want to wake up every day and play the heck out of it. With that being said, I hope this video helps everyone. Please feel free to like, comment, share the video. I want to know how I can make these better. And until next time, this is Susky out.